Hey there, my name is Alex. I am the Silver Mont. Another year's gone by, so, as has become tradition, let's have a video to wrap up 2018. Now, I've got another video talking more specifically about games, because I actually had two quite clear-cut winners that I felt deserved some sort of Game of the Year recognition. That video went up a week or two ago. But we did have some nice announcements in 2018 for games coming out this year, or next year, maybe. Shadows Die Twice probably being one of the most important, huh? We also had Devil May Cry 5 announced after years and years of me wishing for it to appear at E3. I think that was probably the hypest moment of the year for me in terms of gaming. Although being insatiable, now I'm hoping for Dragon's Dogma 2. But Devil May Cry 5 is just around the corner now, and I'm quite excited about that. How about outside of gaming? Well, the internet and associated media were going nuts for Avengers Infinity War as the climax to 10 years of universe building in the MCU. I think we also had Black Panther just before Infinity War. Still, for an entirely CGI character, I thought Thanos worked quite well, kinda like Gollum. I'm skeptical about fully CGI characters, but kudos to Marvel, I'd say they pulled him off. As for the rest of the movie, well, it had moments that I'm sure made people real happy. I wouldn't say it was awful or anything like that. Heck, I enjoyed it a lot more than the first two Avengers films, which were forgettable to me. I know Joss Whedon is well loved, but good lord, I don't believe the man has an eye for action whatsoever. In fact, I'm sure he has good ideas for scripts and maybe character moments and all that, but every film I've seen from him has just looked ugly. Films are things that you are looking at with your eyes. Them being ugly isn't very good. The way scenes are shot, lit, edited, yeah, we can't blame all of that on him, you know, the cinematographers, editors, he's just the director, but the fact that he got thrown into Justice League and somehow made the film look like a PS2 game seems odd to me. And prior to him being involved, it looked a lot better. Now, I'm talking purely visuals. I'm sure Justice League would have been pretty garbage either way, but at least it had something going for it, you know? Not a fan of Joss Whedon. Maybe his strengths lie more in the script writing department or something. I don't know. Speaking of which, when did Justice League come out? Alright, that was 2017, judging from the thumbnail of my previous wrap-up video. But yeah, Infinity War worked a lot better than Justice League, to my eyes. It was directed, if I'm not mistaken, by the same team who did Winter Soldier and Civil War, and those guys have better luck directing action sequences, I think. And at the end of the day, superhero movies boil down to the action scenes. They can attempt to give some sort of social message, but that very rarely works, usually because they get extremely ham-fisted about it. And on that note, the writing of Infinity War didn't really make much sense. The prospect of Thanos being out to catch Death's attention was clearly too dumb for mainstream audiences, so instead he wants to gain infinite power so he can wipe out half the universe, because that's the only way to ensure that life in the universe continues. They don't really present this as a hypocritical or flawed logic either in the movie. It's just a kind of, well, it's not a nice thing to do, but there's nothing really logically flawed about it, even though there really is. If you have the ability to rewrite reality, and you're just gonna nuke 50% of all life, you got the low IQ. But whatever, that's, you know, it's a nitpick. One of my biggest problems with the film was how they felt the need to shoehorn in yet another generic CGI army of things, so everyone has a few generic peons to prod. You know, it's entirely possible to make an action movie where the action scenes all serve a purpose, right? Putting in pointless action scenes against armies of faceless mooks just so everyone gets to wallop something, that's frustrating to me. There's no reason for it, and it's one of my biggest issues with all of the Marvel movies, because almost all of them tend to do it. That was one reason I liked Winter Soldier so much. You know who the bad guy was in that film? Like one guy. You didn't have like an entire army of weird, dumb-looking aliens who present no threat whatsoever getting killed like Dynasty Warriors style. See, if you're making an action film, well, first up, watch Dredd, both Raid films, and John Wick, then ask yourself, does this action scene serve a purpose beyond we need action? It should be used as a means to progress the plot or develop the characters in some way. Marvel films run into this a lot, where so many action scenes exist just because they need to have action scenes. Yeah. Overall though, Infinity War was entertaining. It might run into the problem of being more interesting than whatever possibly comes next. Characters dying, you know, it's cool in the moment, or whatever, it's dramatic, but that tension, that drama, is lessened dramatically. That's a lot of drama, dramaticness. Yeah, it loses any of the impact when we know those characters are going to come back to life because they're like, this character died, but spoilers, they're filming a sequel for their film which we know takes place after Infinity War. Yeah. But what's gonna happen? Well, Ant-Man's gonna be taking them back in time with the quantum world, I'm sure. Or parallel universes, and they'll get people back to life. We'll go back to Avengers 1 and 2 and visit pivotal moments and stuff like that. Speaking of, there was a new Ant-Man movie. Even though I'm pretty sure it came out after Infinity War, I've forgotten most of it. I enjoyed it, but it was just kind of forgettable. The most noteworthy thing about it, in my eyes, was the antagonist of the film. I think she was called Ghost. Well, that actor was the voice of Lord's Blade Kieran, and if I'm not very much mistaken, Lord's Blade Kieran was one of, if not, her first ever roles. You know, that's pretty cool to me, starting off in Dark Souls as a pretty minor character, then a few years later, getting a large role in a huge Marvel film. I mean, congrats to her, she was good in the movie too. I didn't watch too many other movies in 2018 as I recall, but my favourite, the new Mission Impossible Fallout. There are some films that you watch and you feel, yeah, this is why I come to the movie theatre. They give you that great big screen experience that can't be replicated at home or the like. Pacific Rim gave me that feeling, but nothing since has until Fallout. Now, the movie started with some really bad CGI in a dream sequence, which made me worried about what would come next. But thankfully the rest of the movie was just stellar. Props to Tom Cruise, the guy is insanely dedicated to giving us great cinematic experiences. Don't want to spoil too much of the film, but there's a helicopter chase near the end. Almost all of it is practical. Tom Cruise did hundreds of hours of training, and those stunts really have him flying yards away from the sides of a cliff. And with the camera angles they chose, you can see it's not just an actor sitting in a rig with a green screen or projected images. They really are there. That level of reality isn't something you'll notice consciously, but it sells you in ways that matter. Your brain can tell when something is not real, CGI, green screen. Even the slightest flaw with the lighting can throw it off. If you've seen Spider-Man Homecoming, so many scenes in that movie just look entirely fake. It's like, oh, there's the backdrop of New York, which clearly isn't there. They're just standing in a studio somewhere, and that's been projected behind them. Probably not even whilst they're filming it, probably done in post. My favourite scene of Mission Impossible Fallout? Probably the Halo jump sequence, which is, again, something they did practically. It's nuts. They didn't just go into a studio and, have a big fan whilst he hovered there on some strings, They actually jumped out of a plane and filmed it as they were jumping out. It's nuts. I also really liked Henry Cavill in the movie. That man is alarmingly handsome. I might be forgetting something, but those were most of the movies I watched in 2018. In the coming year, we got... honestly, I don't think there's many movies I'm dying to see. I guess there's the next Avengers, which I'm positive they've announced what it's called. I've just forgotten, so I'm going to call it Infinity War Part 2. Actually, you know what's funny? The only movie I can think of that I want to see in cinemas currently is the Dragon Ball Super Broly movie. Broly, whatever. Technically it came out end of 2018 in Japan, but they're having a limited release over here in January, and the trailers have some pretty top-notch animation. I want to see that on the big screen. I've probably mentioned it before, but I don't watch a huge amount of anime these days, but I'm really into animation. Speaking of which, Mob Psycho 100 Series 2, that's That really rolls off the tongue, so let's just call it Mob 100. But yeah, that started up, and I had no idea. Like, I didn't even know there was a season 2 coming, so I was really pleasantly surprised when I was like, oh, wait, it's here and it started? If you haven't seen Mob Psycho 100, it's definitely something I can recommend. If you like One Punch Man, it's from the same person who made One Punch Man, and it also has really good animation, like One Punch Man. And of course, One Punch Man, One Punch Man, One Punch Man, One Punch Man is getting a season 2 as well. I'm not as optimistic for that, as it's a different studio, different director, and I'm kind of worried how the animation is going to be. I'll still watch it because, you know, I like One Punch Man. One Punch Man, One Punch Man. But I'm a little worried about that. But yeah, Mob Psycho 100 Part 2 and Part 1. Check them out if you like anime. And if you don't like anime but you really like animation, or what do they call it, Sakuga? Check it out just for that. I'm really into animation, and something about it is just so impressive to me. The way that people take pictures, just still images, and they give you the illusion of motion, of reality. Something about it just kind of really blows my mind. I don't know why, but I love it. Part 5 of the JoJo anime started in October, about, I don't know, 14 weeks ago? Something like that. So far, so good. Part 5 was always weirdly underrated for some reason, but I was a big fan of it. I like the setting, I like the characters. Bruno is my favourite, as Polnareff was in Part 3. I think they're stronger than Giorno and Jotaro. The latter of which I especially found bland. I mean, yeah, Jotaro has his moments, but for the most part, he's just boring. Part 6 is probably my least favourite part of JoJo. Doesn't mean I hate it or anything, I just felt like it dragged on a bit too long and it had too much Jotaro, but whatever. That said, I really hope they get to Part 7, Steel Ball Run, as that was amazing and maybe my favourite part, tied with Part 2. Dragon Ball Super also finished last year, if I remember correctly, and whilst that series went up and down a hell of a lot, it ended on a high note, I think. Tournament of Power wasn't amazing, but the animation went up in quality near the end a lot. Goku's new form pretty much confirmed that silver is better than gold, but we all knew that now, didn't we? I will now be renaming my channel to Ultra Instinct Mont. Don't know if there's any upcoming anime I'm on the lookout for. There's more Heaven's Feel movies coming, right? But they won't have Lancer in, so they probably suck. Dragon Ball Super, I wonder if that's going to come back at some point. It's, Dragon Ball's one of those things, it ain't all that good, but it's entertaining, and it's one of those things where if you've watched it for pretty much your entire life, it's enjoyable to keep watching, you know? Well, how about real life stuff? Well, you know I don't talk much about that on my channel for any number of reasons, frankly. 2018 was a better year for me, personally, than 2017. Not what I'd call a good one, overall. Still, things in the very tail end of the year gave me better outlooks for 2019 being better still, I hope. One thing I want to talk on briefly is Totalbiscuit. More than 10 years ago, I used to listen to a WoW radio show, a podcast, Blue Please, which then turned into Epic, a co-hosted show that I loved. I'd tune into it every weekend whilst hanging out in WoW with my friends. What was it? Saturdays at like 4 PM or maybe Sundays? Something like that. I enjoyed it, and it became part of my, you know, weekly routine, listening to that show whilst, you know, doing something in the game, and I enjoyed it, and I thought Totalbiscuit, one of the hosts, was a real entertaining guy. When I quit playing WoW, I, you know, stopped listening to WoW-related things as it was no longer relevant to me. But a few years later I learned, much to my surprise, that he was now a really popular YouTuber. So I started checking his stuff out, and on the times where I did go back to WoW, for a few months or so, I had years of podcasts to catch up on, all these episodes of Blue Please, you know? Totalbiscuit struggled with cancer for some years and passed in 2018. As well as being a funny guy, he was one who would stand up for consumer rights in video games. He would call out bad practices, lazy developers, all that sort of thing. When developers would try and censor criticism of their games by, you know, putting copyright strikes on videos, he would actually say something about it instead of just rolling with it. Of course, at times I would disagree with his views on games or people, YouTube, any number of things. But even then, Totalbiscuit always presented a good case for his argument, even if I disagreed with him completely. And I respect that. Just because you disagree with someone doesn't mean you hate them, contrary to how a lot of the internet now behaves. Having a guy like that no longer around is a loss for us all. I can't even count how many hours of entertainment he's given me and many others, millions of others over the years. I wouldn't say he's a role model exactly, but if I could entertain even a fraction of the people he did, that would make me happy. Even knowing that you've made a change in anyone's life, it doesn't even have to be a big change, even if it's just, they're having a bad day and your video cheers them up. If they're stuck on a boss and you help them with the boss, even something tiny like that, it makes me happy. I didn't know Totalbiscuit on a personal level. I never spoke to him. Okay, I think we had like an email exchange in like 2007, maybe, where I think he'd said something about Dynasty Warriors in one of his podcasts, which was factually untrue, so I felt the need to correct him, because I'm kind of like a Dynasty Warriors fanboy. Can I call myself a fanboy if I admit that Dynasty Warriors is pretty bad? Okay, I mean, Dynasty Warriors, it's not a great series, but when people just outright lie about it, then, I will correct them. It's not a great series, but you don't need to lie about it to make it seem worse than it is, I think I also had Totalbiscuit in a match of Halo Reach once. I mean, unless it was just someone with the same Totalbiscuit name, I don't know. But my thoughts go out to his friends and his family. He left a good legacy, and I'm sure he's inspired others when it comes to standing up for the consumers, because someone has to. There's a lot more I could say, but, well, it'd be boring to hear just my other feelings on the matter, so we'll leave it there. Rest in peace, John. Meanwhile, I'm looking for a new apartment. Money's going to be real tight this year, so, there's a chance I'll end up getting a second job. I mean, I say second job, yes, YouTube is my job in the sense that it is what I do multiple hours for every day, and it is my primary source of income. But still, it does feel a bit weird calling it a job. Either that, or I really got to start pushing out the sort of content that's going to get high returns. Get ready for 500 top 10 videos, or whatever the current clickbait channels are doing. And no, I'm not like blaming clickbait channels. I know I poke fun at them all the time. I don't really mind that they do that, It's no skin off my back. People are allowed to do whatever they want so long as it's legal. What I have problems with on YouTube is when people flat out breaking the rules of YouTube or actual laws, when they don't disclose sponsorships, or when they go like, hey guys, check out this website that I'm totally not involved with behind the scenes, or when they're trying to manipulate kids into getting into things that are very close to gambling. But it's fine. Do whatever you want so long as you're not breaking any rules. That's what I say. Even if what you're doing is a bit But yes, of course, any support you do give, whether it's just watching my videos, subscribing, hitting the join button which gets you some icons in the chat and other various benefits, or becoming a patron, it's all very welcome and extremely appreciated. I did recently get into the YouTube membership thing. If you scroll down a little, you will probably see a join button on below my videos, depending on what country you're in. If you click that, it lets you subscribe. It's not even subscribing, because you can subscribe to me without doing that. It's joining my channel. It's a really weird thing, and they should come up for like a better term for it than just join. But yes, do that. You're paying like, was it $4 or something a month? And it gets you access to various rewards that I choose. And as for the money split, by the way, I've actually forgotten, but I think it's something like 70% goes to me and 30% to YouTube. Something like that. You know what? I really want someone to do that and then leave comments, because I want to see someone have that comment icon that I spent like 2 hours working on. And I made it so they level up. Like MMO loot systems, it goes green for uncommon, blue for rare, purple for epic. Then I think it went gold for super legendary, and then like ultimate silver for, yeah, silver. So if you're watching this, go join my channel for however long it takes to get the maximum tier, because I want to see that icon in my comment. That's the main reason, even more than getting money. But I do need money too, so feel free to seed all of your financial assets to me, or, you know, at least 50% of them. I promise you I'll make very good use of that money. I guess the goal one day would be to get so much money from, I don't know, sponsorship deals or Patreon, stuff like that, where I could just turn off ads on YouTube and I wouldn't need them to make money. That would be so nice, you know? Because I love making videos on YouTube, but I hate ads. I just don't like them. Now, I try and keep them relatively sparse on my videos. I'll have, you know, ads before the video. If it's more than 10 minutes, I'll have ads after the video. If it's like really long, like 30 minutes or an hour, then I might have an ad in the middle. I'm right there with you. I don't like ads. But, you know, that's how I get money, that's how I pay my bills. And usually, at least, YouTube has been pretty good with ads. Even if they're not relevant, which sometimes they are, which is nice. I've had video game ads that are related to the video in question. So if, like, I'm saying, if I have a Dark Souls video, maybe I'll have an ad for Neo on it, which I think is pretty cool, because if you like Dark Souls and you haven't heard of Neo, the advert for Neo might make you go, oh, this is kind of like Dark Souls, maybe I should check that out. Those sort of ads are kind of neat, but when it's like an ad for, I don't know, hairspray on my Dark Souls lore video, then I'm like, what? What are you trying to tell me, Miyazaki? What's the lore behind this? Anyway, I went off on a real big tangent there, as I do. I've not been drinking, I promise you, I haven't. I'll do my best to keep pushing out videos this year. I'm always trying to improve them in some way or another. And of course, if you have any suggestions about the channel for videos or things outside of that, let me know down in the comments. I mean, hell, YouTube has some sort of built-in merchandise thing now. Should I do that so people can buy Silvermont shirts? Who would even want a Silvermont shirt? Like, I don't even know if I want a Silvermont shirt, but there might be one person out there who's going, I wish I had a Silvermont shirt, so when I go out, people know who my favourite YouTuber is. And they should. Because I am #1. It's a hard line to balance, though. Making videos that are fun to make, fun to watch, hopefully give me a little bit of that money, you know? So I can eat and survive. But I think that about wraps it up. I hope you guys had a good New Year's, and I will see you real soon. Have an excellent 2019. Thank you for watching. Yes, I am #1.